If you've been following the news, there's no doubt that the education profession is in crisis. YouTube is filled with videos about teachers who have left the profession. An estimated 300,000 teachers ended their teaching careers over the previous 2 school years. As of this past October, during the 2023 to 2024 school year, another 65,000 teachers quit. I was one of these teachers.
Sadly, our education system is broken. Teachers have known this for years. There have been growing issues with student behavior, the lack of administrative and parental support, and the ongoing culture wars that in some states have culminated in book banning and restrictions on how to teach about the history of race relations. The week before I quit, a student threw a water bottle which shattered the clock on the classroom wall. Another threw a shoe at my head. When I tried talking to the students about their behavior, they laughed at me. When I called parents, some of them complained about why I had called them. "Well, you're the teacher. Why don't you do your job?" said one of the parents. When I sought help from my building administration, I was told to step up my class management or to find another job. I decided to find another job.
While I do not regret having chosen to end my 32-year-long teaching career, I realize in retrospect that I could have pursued other options. Since I am autistic and have a literal mindset, my supervising administrator probably made a mistake when she gave me this binary choice.
You either need to step up your class management or go find another job because you can be replaced in a heartbeat.
Since I now have the benefit of hindsight, I realized that I could have spoken about my growing frustration with a senior administrator, such as the assistant principal or the principal. I could have contacted the union. Since I am autistic and have legal protections under the Americans with Disabilities Act, I could have contacted my district's Office of Compliance and Accommodations for mediation support. As it was, I decided to quit and to end a 15-year-long teaching career as a high school culinary arts instructor. This is not the first time that I have ended a teaching career. Before I went into culinary arts, I was an elementary teacher. I taught at the intermediate level for 17 years. After burning out as an elementary teacher, I went to culinary school and worked in the food service industry for a few years, until 2007, when I returned to education as a high school culinary arts instructor. It has now been just over 2 months since I left the teaching profession. Although it was my original intention to retrain for another occupation, time and distance have given me the opportunity to reflect. While I have no interest in resuming my career as a culinary arts teacher or dusting off my credentials as a former elementary teacher, the fact that so many of us have been quitting our teaching careers has caught my attention. While there are a lot of YouTube videos out there about why you should quit teaching and what career options you might have as a former educator, I thought it might be useful to come up with alternatives that would allow teachers to make use of the experience they developed during their teaching careers. This thought led me to create this video, which will also be the first film in a new series called A Teacher's Survival Guide to Teaching. All of us have had different reasons for wanting to leave the education profession. If you have quit or have thought about quitting because of your teacher's salary, have you thought about moving across state lines to a state that offers better rates of pay? In May of 2022, the Clark County School District in southern Nevada raised starting teacher salaries from $43,000 to $50,115. Since Nevada also has no state income tax, teaching in Nevada would have the effect of putting extra money in your pocket, since state income taxes range from a low of 0.02% all the way up to an astounding 13%, depending upon where you live and what your total income is. If you're in a state with an ongoing culture war that restricts you from teaching about the history of race relation, or if you're in a state where teachers face challenges because of book banning, why not consider moving to a state that doesn't have these issues? In this video, I'd like to discuss the possibility of a lateral career shift. If you're like most teachers, you will have put 4 years into pursuing a bachelor's degree in education. You may be burdened with student debt. You might even have an advanced degree. I myself have a master's in curriculum and instruction. This would be a lot of time, money, and experience to just toss away. If you're willing to relocate, here's a completely different alternative. Have you ever thought about teaching overseas? Unless you grew up abroad as I did, you may not be aware that there are an estimated 13,180 international American schools throughout the world. I myself attended elementary school in Bangkok, Thailand. I also attended junior high in San Salvador, El Salvador. As a former elementary teacher, I spent 7 years teaching at an American school in Saudi Arabia. I spent another year teaching at an American school in Beirut, Lebanon. There are basically two different school systems, three if you count ESL, English as a second language, training programs that employ American teachers. One are the DODEA schools. These are schools that have been established by the Department of Defense for educational activities. They're essentially American schools for the children of U.S. military personnel in such places as Belgium, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Spain, Korea, and Cuba, to name but a few. Some DODEA schools are also found in U.S. territories like Guam or Puerto Rico. There are even schools in 7 different states. If you're interested in teaching for the DODEA, you should Google teaching jobs with the DODEA. The Defense Department currently operates 159 schools throughout the world. As an alternative to working for the U.S. federal government, you could work at an international American school. Can you imagine working in Bali with a bungalow on the beach? I once knew a school administrator in Bali who told me about the surfer dudes in his faculty who would ride the waves before and after school. Having a teaching certificate is a great way to see the world, since there are American schools throughout the world. If you are not American but are a certified teacher who speaks English, you should know that some of these schools will hire other nationalities. In Lebanon, I taught at the American Community School of Beirut. In addition to local Lebanese teachers and Americans, we also had teachers from Venezuela, Canada, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom. If you're interested in teaching abroad at an international school, you should know that the peak recruiting season for teacher employment for the 2024 to 2025 school year will begin in January and will run through April or May. There are several job fairs that will be held over the coming months. Some will be in person, while others will be virtual. 2 of the biggest recruiters for teaching abroad include Search Associates and the International Schools Services. There is also an annual job fair at UNI, the University of Northern Iowa in Cedar Falls. This year, their in-person job fair will be held from February 3 to February 4, 2024. Please be aware that you can't just show up at any of these job fairs. You will have to apply for admission in much the same way that you would apply for a teaching job. All of this can be done online. As a product of the international school system and as someone who once spent 8 years teaching abroad, I know from personal experience that one of the big advantages in teaching overseas is that a lot of the problems that are currently facing teachers in the U.S. public schools are simply not issues in the international schools. Students in these schools tend to be on or above grade level. Most parents I have known have been incredibly respectful and supportive. If you like to travel, one of the nice things about living abroad will be the opportunity to travel. For example, when I taught in Lebanon, I spent spring break in Jordan, where I spent several days touring the ruins of Petra. During Christmas, I went to Egypt and spent Christmas Day on a steamship cruising down the Nile. If it wasn't for the fact that I have 4 cats, I'd go back overseas in a heartbeat. Since my fur babies are my family, I will not give them up, even though having them may no longer be convenient. Here's another alternative to what you might do if you're burned out. If you're burned out and cannot envision continuing to teach whatever your current subject area is, why not retrain to teach something else? After ending my 17-year-long elementary teaching career, I went to culinary school and spent 4 years in the food service industry prior to returning to education in 2007 as a high school culinary arts instructor. To maximize your future employment options, you might think about getting certified in an area where there is currently a critical shortage. I myself have chosen this option. In January, I will begin taking coursework through the University of Southern Nevada and will be completing 7 courses for certification as a special education teacher with an endorsement for autism. By the start of the 2024 to 2025 school year, I will have completed 4 out of 7 classes and will be eligible to apply for a provisional special education teaching certificate. The need for educators is so acute that a lot of states have endorsement programs and alternative certification routes that won't require you to spend years pursuing a second or even a third degree. Since teacher certification pathways vary from state to state, you should check with your state's Department of Teacher Certification to learn what alternative certification opportunities there might be. I got my start as a culinary arts teacher in Arizona because Arizona gave me credit for the 4 years I spent working in the food service industry. At the time I earned my provisional teaching certificate, I only had to take a course in the Arizona State Constitution, as well as 2 ESL courses before I qualified for my standard certificate for career and technical education. If you have work experience in building cabinets or furniture, or if you grew up on a farm, Why not see if your life experience would qualify you to be a woodshop teacher or an ag teacher for agriculture, food, and natural resources? Career and technical education teachers are currently divided into 16 broad categories that includes health, business, informational technology, STEM, and all sorts of other areas. If you're completely done with teaching, why not consider becoming a school administrator or a counselor? If you have a master's degree, you could apply for a job at a district office as a curriculum coordinator. What you do for your future and your choice of employment are up to you. If you really are done with education, then I wish you all of the best. On the other hand, if you have a bit more left to give, why not consider teaching abroad or earn an endorsement to teach something completely different?
If you liked this video and would like to see more content, please click on the like and subscribe buttons.
If you have thoughts about future videos that you might want to see, please share your ideas in the comments below.